Welcome to the Glass Ceilings and Sticky Floor podcast, the podcast where we get real about the challenges women face in work, life, and leadership. I'm your host, Erica Rooney, HR executive, keynote speaker, and executive coach, and I'm on a mission to get more women into positions of power and keep them there. This is the space where we call it the paradoxes, being told to lean in but not too far, to speak up but not too loudly, to be ambitious but not too ambitious. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, we're over all that. Here, we break down the sticky floors that keep us stuck from imposter syndrome and perfectionism to burnout and fear, and give you real strategies to shatter those glass ceilings once and for all. So if you're ready to rewrite the rules, own your power, and take your career and life to the next level, you're in the right place. Now, today's guest is tackling the core problem that trips up, I think every ambitious entrepreneur that I know, and that would be confusing business strategy with finance. Now, if you're a CFO, you probably already get it. You probably already know it, but I'm not a CFO. But what I love about this is that she's not just talking about creating budgets and following a spreadsheet. She is simplifying complex money talk and turning founders into confident financial leaders, right? And let's be clear, just because you're a visionary and you set a great strategy and a vision and all that, it doesn't always translate to the dollars. And that's why we've got Danielle Hendon, who is the founder of Four Corners CFO, a firm dedicated to empowering small and mid-market businesses with financial strategy. Now, after years of experience in corporate finance, Danielle recognized this massive gap for entrepreneurs who are so brilliant and they are so amazing at their craft, but they're overwhelmed by the books. And I don't know about you, but that's always me. So she and her team provide the clarity, the forecasting, and the strategic decision support that drives sustainable, profitable growth. And she understands this truth, that you can't lead where you don't look. And her mission is to help women founders stop leaving money on the table and fully step into the power of profit. So y'all, get ready. I'm here for this. We're about to talk dollars, we're about to talk revenue, we're about to talk cents, okay? But please welcome the financial strategist, the profit champion, Danielle Hendon. Danielle, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
I am so good. Wow, what an intro. You are amazing. I cannot wait to talk more about this because so many business owners, especially women, would prefer to put our head in the sand and we fly by the seat of our pants and our bank account. And that's just not the best way to run a business.
No, it's not. And so I'm really interested, like you were corporate world girl doing that whole thing for so long, which also two snaps to that because there's not a ton of women in finance, right? I think the stat for female CFOs is like 17%. It's ridiculously low. And I know that because I had a female CFO. But what really shifted that transition for you? Like, give me your kind of like come up story. What was that?
Oh gosh, I was thrown in feet first. I will be the first to say I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. My husband is the entrepreneurial spirit of the household, but life had different plans. So I will go way back because I always think it's funny to say this, but I actually went to college to be a music major. I thought I was going to be an opera singer for a living. And then I had a professor who made us write all about the future of our career, and I realized I don't have friends in high places and I'm going to be broke, and that doesn't sound fun. So I had friends in the business school and decided to give accounting a try. There is a weird, scientifically proven mesh between numbers and math and music and patterns. And I loved accounting. I loved everything about it. And that sounds really weird, but I'm weird, so it's okay. And kept going, got my CPA, went into public accounting like everybody does. I am here in the Houston area, so when I started a family and realized I don't want to be working public accounting hours, I landed in oil and gas. And I was with an oil and gas firm for about a decade. They went through bankruptcy, and on the other side of it, I was running the audit department and getting the phone calls of, hey, we've got 2 people left. How do you want me to keep doing this? So we rewrote their processes and their controls over and over and over again for 2 years. And then the pandemic hit. And I never want to take away from anything anyone went through, but I think we can all admit it was a chance to slow down in a way that Americans have never done. And for me, it was a completely different perspective of parenting because at this time we now had two. They were both in school. My son is GT, which is like gifted and talented here in Texas, but also severely ADHD. Hindsight 2020, I don't think we would have survived if I didn't end up being at home running my business. But on this side of it, this workaholic mom was getting to know the parents and the teachers and the friends and all of the things that in corporate we were about to hire a nanny to do. And I realized I didn't want to give that up. There had to be a way to do what I love doing and be there for the people that I care about the most. And that has been a through line for me with our clients, with our team members. And we hire phenomenal people that are really good at what they do, but maybe they only do it for 5 hours a week. And that's sort of how I launched into Four Corners CFO.
I love that. And I mean, that was kind of the same thing for me with COVID. And again, yes, it was horrible. Yes, a lot of bad things very much so happened, but there was a lot of good that came out of that in the fact that so many women who never got to experience, taking a step back from maybe a high powered job that had them going all over the place, right? They got to just experience it a little differently. I know I got to get 2.5 hours of my day back just from commuting alone.
Yes.
And again, wouldn't wish COVID on the world again, right? But there were some really unique opportunities that if you leaned into it and kind of paid attention to, the pulls that you were getting and not just like, okay, I'll go back to my job. It was very much like, no, I've been exposed to this. I don't want to leave it. Like, how can I be different? And so I think that's really awesome. And definitely the story resonates with me. I know it's going to resonate with other listeners, but I mean, when I think of finance and numbers and all the things, like, it gives me mad anxiety. I don't want to be doing about it. I don't want to be thinking about it. None of that. And I want to know what was it where you were like, wow, there are some blind spots out there that entrepreneurs are facing that they don't even know about. And this is how I know Four Corners CFO is going to be so great. Like, what were those blind spots that these entrepreneurs were totally missing? Probably me right now.
Okay, so I'm going to give a story first and then I'll give blind spots.
Okay.
How I knew there were blind spots to begin with, I had a very good friend. I'm a swim mom. My kids are swimmers. So we spend a lot of time with swim moms. And one of them ran her own business doing t-shirts and stuff like that. And I would ask her questions like, hey, what are your sales? What are your profit margins? Just conversationally with my background and knowing what she does. And she's like, Danielle, you're making me sweat. I can't talk about this. I was like, okay, so we've really got to figure out how we can get women to not, and I don't want to say afraid because we're not afraid of the numbers, but to not judge themselves for the numbers. Because I think that's what it really comes down to. A lot of women have a lot of guilt and judgment that surrounds those numbers. And it's easier to just say, hey, everything's going well or everything's not going well. I need to fix it without getting into the details that feel like judgments on you. But at the end of the day, one of my favorite things to tell clients is when you write a budget, the goal of the budget is never actually to hit it. It's just a milestone that helps us understand what your numbers are doing.
Ooh, so the goal of the budget is never to hit it. It's not necessary. Would you also consider though, like kind of like a roadmap? Like I'm going to follow these steps. Okay. Talk to me more about this. It feels like judgment because I was like, oh yes, it does feel like judgment. But then I was like, but how do I feel judged? But I know
especially for those of us that have come out of corporate, you feel like you should know these things. Like I'm smart. I should know how to do this. I've done all these things in my career already. Why can't I figure this out? And if things are going really well in your business, you probably don't feel like you need to look at the numbers. I would argue there's always a story being told and you need to know what those are. But if things aren't going well, if the bank account's coming up too short, if you've got payroll to make, you feel responsible. You are responsible. I'm not going to lie. As business owners, we are responsible for what goes on in our business. But as women especially, we turn that into self-criticism really, really fast. When realistically, it could be something going on with an employee. It could be something going on in the world because good Lord, there's plenty of that right now. Yeah. It could be all number of things, but if you're not looking at the numbers at all, you can't begin to understand that story or that why and what is going on. You just immediately go to, this is my fault, the buck stops here, I should have done something different, but that's not going to help you move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a sense of responsibility. I think there's also this like not good enough feeling. We all want to be doing better. We all want to have higher revenue, higher profitabilities. And if we're not hitting those, especially as female entrepreneurs who've always been told like those are things we can't really excel at and do, it just kind of exacerbates that core truth that we believe, which in my world we call those sticky floors, right? The limiting beliefs and
Yes.
toxic behaviors that keep you stuck. So all of those criticisms, the judgment, the lack of worth, all centered around money. It's so almost terrifying, I think about it, because we place so much of our worth on those numbers. And that makes me think about like financial confidence and like how do we boost women's financial confidence?
If nothing else happens after you listen to this podcast, if you can at least just go look at your numbers and figure out what you don't know. First of all, you are not meant to know it all. And if you're a business owner and you're trying to do your own books, you're wasting time and money. There are plenty of people out there to do it for very little money. You are not supposed to know the things that you don't know. You're supposed to have support to help you with the things that you don't know. And you're not meant to know it all. And I would say that's the first part of it. And if all you do is go look at those numbers and figure out what you don't know and talk to your bookkeeper, this entire podcast for me is a win. If that's all you take away from this, then you are successful.
I love that.
You've got
I would
to
also argue,
be
I'm going to
willing
say
to face
too,
those
like,
dark spaces.
yeah, we had another woman on here a little bit earlier. Her name was Steph Wagner, and she wrote a book, but it's more so on the personal financial side of it. So it's a very similar though with these concepts. And that's what I would say, that if you're listening to this and you're like, well, I'm not a business owner, it doesn't really matter. Like take these same concepts and apply them to your personal financial situation. So whether you're in a partnership or you're single, like you need to know what those numbers are. And I remember, Danielle, when I was single, living paycheck to paycheck, trying to figure out if I could afford to eat ramen noodles or buy $2 Chuck wine, right? Like these were the decisions I was making. Did I have enough money in my bank account to get myself a Chipotle burrito bowl and a bottle of $2 Chuck? And it was almost like you said, like it was like cross my fingers and hope that I did, and it was really hard to like work it backwards and figure it all out for me. And so I share all this again to say, if you don't own a business, like it's all of these things are still so important. But one of the things I really wanted to talk about was forecasting, because especially for entrepreneurs, especially for even just women who are looking to save some money and figure out their life and all their financial stuff, right? To me, forecasting can sound so intimidating, but you say, no, this is a critical leadership tool. So what I need to know is, how do we master this skill of basic financial forecasting, and how do we how do we master that to then give us the power to lead more courageously?
I will start with mindset because everything starts there.
Yeah.
You have to know that the budget isn't judging you. It is not a judgment of you. Again, the budget is not necessarily meant to be hit. It is a quantified way of writing down your goals financially. So yes, it is something you would like to hit. But if revenue came in short and it's because we did something that cut a whole bunch of costs, that like there's story behind all of it. The goal of a budget isn't necessarily hitting it. The goal of the budget is to understand why you're not hitting it. And I'm actually going to take the personal finance route for a minute because I think it'll make more sense.
Yeah.
At the time we are recording this, the world is expensive. If you wrote your budget 6 months ago and it said, I don't know, $500 a month for groceries, I guarantee you're not hitting it. And it's
girl,
not
that's
your
a
fault,
week. That's a
right?
week with kids. 1 week.
I think we spend $400 a week with my kids at home. And if they're home for the summer, good Lord, it's even more.
Yep.
But it's not a judgment of you. It is a matter of the circumstances that you're in. And when we don't hit the budget, whether personally or professionally, what we do in our business with our clients is we say, okay, do we need to change the budget? Which means we're going to change our expectations. This is just what's going on right now. Or do we need to make a change in the business? But if you don't know where you landed in terms of the budget, you don't know what you need to do at all. So it doesn't have to be hard. It is not a judgment of who you are or how you're running the business. It can be as simple as, how is the business doing? Where do we want it to go? And how do we get there? And it might be that your budget says simple revenue numbers. And I'm going to give an example because a lot of us are service-based businesses. We do a lot of service-based stuff. When it is service-based, you are the revenue generating cost, or your people. How many hours are you committing to that work? And how much should you be billing that work at? And that's what your revenue should be. I love when we're working with attorneys, we sit down and we're like, even if you're flat fee or contingency, I don't care how you price what you price. By the way, I love flat fee, but I don't care how you price what you price. It's still an hour of work. And if you were to bill that out hourly, you need to be making at least that much money. So that's how we start our budget. I say, look, your team has 40 hours a week. So let's say 30 of it spent on billable work. If you're doing billable things. If you're the business owner and you're also the doer, this number is not going to apply quite as well because you are doing a million other things. But if it is a revenue generating person on your team, you're probably getting about 30 hours out of 40 that is client related.
Yeah.
How much money should that hour be worth? 100, 200. If you're an attorney, it might be 500. Whatever that time is. Then we're going to calculate how much revenue does that mean you could and should be making if everybody's doing what they need to be doing. It has nothing to do with your sales pipeline. I will be the first to say I am not a sales and marketing guru. If we need help there, we'll go budget that out and find it. But if you have the work to give people, you should be able to fill them up with work. And that's where your revenue comes from. How many hours? What's a good billable rate? And then making sure, especially as women, I'm going to trickle this into the flat fee side because I love flat fee. It is the best way for you to get efficiency and value for the experience that you and your team have. If you're doing things by the hour, as you get faster, you're losing money. Yeah. Which is not how we want things to go. But if you're flat fee pricing, as you get faster, you're actually making money because the team can do more of it. In that scenario, you want to make sure, though, that you're pricing it in a way that actually makes sense for that. Yeah. Your flat fee should be worth more than the hours that are going into it. And a lot of times, I think another one of those blind spots, especially as women, is we underprice our services. We look at the hours going into it, and we don't look at the value coming out of it for our clients.
Yes. That's been something that in my keynote speaking business, I have to come up against quite a lot because people will say, well, what's the price for an hour talk and what's the price for a half hour talk? And I'm like, it's the same because it took me the same amount of time to get to here, 15 plus years, right? Like It takes, but it is hard because it's just this natural, like we equate time to money in our brains. And so we expect other people to just fall straight for that. But yeah, the faster you get and the better you get. And you don't want to be charging an hourly rate. That's absolutely bananas. But Danielle, I want to go back to this money mindset thing because I think this is where so many women, whether you're an entrepreneur or this is your personal finances, so many women get tripped up on this, whether they say like, I'm just not good at math and the finances piece of it. Like I think so many girls, little girls have been conditioned to think that way. How do we work on breaking those money mindsets? And like in your work, is that often where you start?
Yes, and. Yeah. So the very first thing we do with a client, and I'm going to throw out a little bit of accounting words, is look at their balance sheet. Yeah. Because your balance sheet is the basis for your financials. It's the foundation. If you don't have a good bookkeeper, if they're not reconciling the books, then you're not going to have a good basis for us to look at your P&L. Yeah. That being said, from a mindset perspective, part of the reason we do balance sheet first is because many of us have been brought up in this risk-averse, debt-averse world. So if you are carrying a bunch of credit card debt, which is absolutely normal, by the way, if you're starting a business, money has to come from somewhere and it takes money to make money. Mm-hmm. But if you're carrying a bunch of credit card debt, it has a completely different mental load than a 5-year term loan. So I want you to think about your car loan. that might be, goodness, at the time we're speaking is probably like $1,000 plus a month. But what that car loan is compared to the $20,000 credit card, your car loan is probably for $50,000, but it doesn't feel nearly as heavy as that $20,000 credit card. Similarly, one of the first things we recommend to all business owners is to have a line of credit. If you don't have a line of credit and you're very debt averse, if you've bootstrapped it, you have no credit card debt, you've got all the things, I have to have a conversation with that owner about why debt can actually be good in a business, why it can actually help you, and the benefit of a line of credit, especially in a time of need, so that you are not reaching for every single dollar that essentially means a bad decision in your business. All of that is mindset, and it gets baked into that very first meeting.
Yeah, I mean, the way you put that with just like car loan versus a credit card bill, I was like, absolutely. I damn sure know I got a car bill to pay every month and I'm paying on this car loan, but it doesn't bother me until I see my American Express bill. Oh, so good. I love this. And I mean, you work with both men and women, so I'm interested to see, do you notice any key differences when you're working with maybe a female founder versus a male founder?
I think female founders are far more self-critical. We have more judgment against ourselves. And I think partially probably because I'm that way and I attract those type of women, but we tend to feel like the numbers are a judgment, like I said, and they absolutely are not. They are just a tool to help us make decisions. And whether it's debt or your financial statements or the budget, my biggest goal is to help make sure that business owners understand how to use those tools and not judge themselves for it.
I love that. I'm just taking so many notes. Taking so many of my own personal notes, as you know, because I run my own business. I'm like, oh, yes, the budget is a tool to make decisions. It's not the be all end all. It does not determine my worth or the quality of my business.
I would also add from that mindset perspective, if you don't have a budget and you don't have a path forward, I can almost guarantee you spiral in that black hole of what if. You don't know what's going to happen. And the budget gives you a place to be grounded and say, no, this is what we think is going to happen. Like something might happen and change that. But as of right now, this is where we think things are going and this is what it's going to look like. And I don't have to worry about this black hole of the future.
Yeah. Well, and think about how many opportunities you'd be missing if you only relied on the money you had in your bank account at the time that the opportunity hit. Right. Yeah. So if you're, and I speak from my own experience, right? Because I have often lived from this place of like, unless I have the money, I'm not going to spend it. And then something would come up and it'd be like, man, that would have been a great opportunity to go to. Like I could have had so many amazing business connections, but I don't have the money. Whereas what I'm not recognizing is the power in all that business development. It was just wasted because I didn't go. I could have generated 6 leads at 10,000 each, which would have 10 times paid over for the trip. You know, and again, you've already said it. You've got to spend money to make money, but it can be so challenging. And I heard this somewhere. I cannot remember where. I'll try to remember so I can give the person credit where credit's due. But they talked about how men tend to view money as like a river. It flows. Yeah. It comes to me and it goes. It comes and it goes. It comes and it goes. Whereas women tend to look at it more like a stagnant pond that dries up over time. And that image has been one that whenever I feel like it's like my mouse is hovering over, like, do I buy this plane ticket or not? Or like, do I make that investment or not? It's always like, I have to remember, Erica, you are not a pond. Erica, you are not a pond.
I love that. I think I need that on a sticky note. That is such a good
amazing visual to like totally encompass that. But Danielle, with you and starting your own business and all of, you know, the things that you know about when it comes to finances and all of that, like what kind of sticky floors did you run into when it came to launching and, you know, moving your business forward?
Oh gosh. I think I was about to say favorite, but sticky floors are not a favorite thing. My go-to answer that comes to mind is hiring. Partially because it's mine, but also because where we are in the market and the people that we help, it's one of their biggest sticky floors. You are only capable of so many hours a day. And as a business owner, my Lord, do we wear so many hats. And you cannot be generating revenue and wearing all of those hats in a way that makes for sustainable profit. It just doesn't. So very, very first thing I will say is making sure that you are paying yourself, because you're going to have to pay someone else to do that eventually. And a lot of people get in this, oh, well, it's just my time. It's not. No, you are worth it. Your time is worth money. And I will keep saying that over and over again, even though I like flat fees. Your time is worth money.
It is.
It is. And you have to pay yourself and prioritize that profit, or you're never going to be able to pay somebody else. So for me, and I don't want to jump into like the world of VAs and EAs and all of their talking points, but that delegation factor and giving somebody else control over some piece of what you're doing is absolutely one of the sticky floors I had to work through, financially and physically. I had to work through the delegation side and what to give them and how to give them and how to let go, because the auditor and me had to find a way to check things. But then financially, even when you hire someone to make money in your business, if you're thinking of like my accountants on my team, they are revenue generating, but they have to train first, and they have to go through like all the processes and learn the clients, and they're not going to make money on day one.
No.
And that's where that line of credit, or being comfortable leaning into your credit card for a little while, if that's all you have, you have to be able to pay people to get through that phase. And you cannot grow without learning how to hire somebody. You just can't. You hit a glass ceiling real fast.
Yeah, and what I love about this is it really brings it back to that very first full circle moment you talked about, where in COVID you realized you didn't want to give up all of those mom duties and those mom responsibilities. And as a mom with little kids myself, like, yeah, I could pay someone to go pick my kids up today at 2:00 and 3:00 and help them with their homework. And I have done that before. Like, I have been there and I have done that, and it has its seasons. But like right now, that's the season I want to lean into. And already, so in the beginning for you, when you launched Four Corners CFO, was it harder for you to keep those boundaries? Right?
Oh, yeah.
Because you've already said, I quit my corporate job because I want to be here for my kids. But now you're also telling me in the same breath, like, but I also really struggle to let anybody else do the things for me.
Oh,
So
yeah. My
how was it?
husband jokes in that first year, he was like, I swear you quit your job to make another job.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was hard. And it's hard to let go. I think, especially as a type A personality, I had to figure out, what can I let go of that A, isn't urgent or doesn't matter as much. So getting that VA on board or somebody like that to help with the administrative stuff was a first step for me. But seriously, hiring, and I like to call it the mini me or the revenue generate, that first like revenue generating for that first accountant, I was like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Like, how do I give them what I'm doing? How do I train them? How do I get them to interact with the client? And it's not me. And it's a wild ride to be on, but it is quite literally the only way you can grow and not lose your mind.
Ain't that the truth? And I think that's a very hard thing for a lot of women, is just this delegation piece, because we don't want to put a burden on anybody else. We often think it's just faster if I just do it. Like, there's so many excuses that we give ourselves for the delegation piece. I do think that that is a sticky floor that so many women get caught up in, because yes, when you're hiring somebody, even if, like, let's say you're a fully employed CEO running a totally different company somewhere, we're not even talking about your own personal finances, right? But you need somebody to be a house manager. You still have to stop and show them the ropes of what's going on in the house. That costs you your time. As we know, time is money. So either way, you have to get comfortable with letting pieces of those, the things that don't bring you joy, that take up a lot of your time, like, offload those to somebody else so that they can handle that, so you can stay in your zone of genius, whether you are running a business or whether you are a badass in corporate taking care of it and you're hiring somebody. That delegation piece is so key. Oh my gosh. Danielle, what else are you up to with Four Corners CFO? If people are like, oh my God, you're amazing, I want you to tell us, what are you up to and how can people find you?
We are always looking to talk to people. Even if all you want is a discovery call and a consult, my goal is that you leave with something you can do, even if that something isn't hiring us. Like I said when we started the podcast, if all you do after listening to this is go look at your numbers, I feel like I've accomplished something today. Because if you're looking, then you at least get to start asking questions. So you can find us on our website. So it's going to be the number 4 Corners CFO. And we are going to have a landing page just for you guys. So it'll be Four Corners CFO / glass ceilings,
Oh,
because I want
fun.
to make it really easy for anyone to reach out.
I love that. We'll definitely make sure that that link is in the show notes. But thank you, Danielle, for coming in, for sharing your sticky floor story, for talking about the importance of finances and knowing your numbers. And really, I loved just this, like, don't let money feel like a judgment. Don't ever let it feel like a judgment. Don't ever let it define your worth. It's not worth it. So thank you, Danielle, for
Absolutely.
joining us. Yes. Now, listen, if today's conversation lit a fire under you, here's your next move. Don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with a friend, drop a review, and let's keep the conversation going. I need you to remember that your potential is limitless, and the only thing standing in your way are those sticky floors. But guess what? You have the power to break through them. So go out there, take up some space, and let's shatter some ceilings together.